Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Go ahead and get started with the reading. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Continuing to read Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. In 1948, Abhay closed his Lucknow factory. He had fallen behind in employee salaries, and since 1946 he had been paying rent in installments. But when sales dropped off, continuing the factory became impossible. He lost everything. Srila Prabhupada, I started a big laboratory in Lucknow. Those were golden days. My business flourished like anything. Everyone in the chemical business knew. But then gradually, everything dwindled. With the help of some acquaintances in Allahabad, he opened a small factory there in the same city where his Prayag pharmacy had failed 15 years before. He moved to Allahabad with his son Vrindavan and continued manufacturing medicines. While the rest of the family remained at Banerjee Lane, Calcutta, Abhay continued his traveling. But now he was often away for months at a time. And then he had the dream a second time. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati appeared before him. Again he was beckoning, indicating that Abhay should take sannyas. And again Abhay had to put the dream aside. He was a householder with many responsibilities. To take sannyasa would mean that he had to give up everything. He had to earn money. He now had 5 children. Why is Guru Maharaj asking me to take sannyasa? He thought. It was not possible now. The Allahabad business was unsuccessful. At present, the condition of our business is not very good, he wrote his servant Gauranga, who had asked to rejoin him. When the condition gets better, and if you are free at that time, I will call you. He worked earnestly, but results were meager. As with everything else, Abhay saw his present circumstances through the eyes of scripture. And he could not help but think of the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Yasyaham anugrami harisye tad dhanam sanai tato dhanam tyajanstanti yasya swajana dukkha dukkhitam. When I feel especially merciful towards someone, I gradually take away all his material possessions, his friends and relatives, then reject this poverty-stricken and most wretched fellow. He had heard Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati quote the verse, and now he thought of it often. He took it that his present circumstances were controlled by Krishna, who was forcing him into a helpless position, freeing him for preaching Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada, somehow or other, my intention for preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu increased and other side decreased. I was not disinclined, but Krishna forced me. You must give it up. The history is known how it decreased. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Queen Kunti had also prayed, my dear Lord Krishna, your lordship can easily be approached only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feelings. Srila Prabhupada, so in 1950, I retired practically. Not retired, but a little in touch with business, whatever is going on. Then almost it became nil. Whatever was there, all right, you do whatever you like. Abhay's wife independently moved along with her sons back to her father's house at 72 Mahatma Gandhi Road. She had reasoned that her financial support was becoming precarious. Abhay was spending most of his time away from home. He was gradually disassociating himself from the family. When after several months he would meet his wife and children, his father-in-law would criticize him. You're always going outside. You're always worshipping God. You're not looking after my family. Whenever he could, Abhay would send his family some money. Mr. Sudhir Kumar Datta, Abhay's nephew, I sometimes noticed he was thinking so many things about his family, about his writings, about making bigger and bigger in business. What to do, what to do. He was thinking seriously to earn money from his business. But that means he has to give more time for his business. And his writing, he'd never give up. He was writing more and more, and people sometimes abused him. Hey, you're writing religious things. You're only thinking of God. Then how will you maintain your family? What will you do for the family? Sometimes he argued with them. What has this family given me? Why should I forget about God? This is the real thing. That what that I am doing. I cannot realize what I'm doing. On a visit to Calcutta, Abhay stayed at the home of his father-in-law, where he was given his own room. When his wife served him dinner, he noticed that everything had been purchased from the market. How is this? He asked. The cook is sick today, Radharani replied. Abhay thought, it is better that we not live here at the home of her father, or else she will be spoiled even more. So he moved his family to a new address on Chetla Street. Here, he sometimes stayed with his family for a few months, writing articles and doing a minimal amount of business. But most of the time, he stayed in Allahabad. In Allahabad, Abhay, now 54, lived like a Vanaprastha, or who has retired from a family life. He was indifferent to the activities of families and business. Activities a family man generally considers his prime objects of responsibility and happiness. In his writings, Abhay had several times discussed the four ashramas or spiritual divisions of Vedic society: Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. In the first division, the Brahmachari ashrama, a young boy's parents sent him to the place of the Guru or Gurukula, where he lives a simple life, studying the Vedic literature under the guidance of his Guru. Thus, in childhood and youth, he learns the principles of austerity and spiritual knowledge that forms the basis for his entire life. At the age of 21, the brahmachari may take a wife and thus enter the next ashram, the grahastha ashram, or like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he may choose to remain a lifelong brahmachari. In his boyhood, Abhay had remained celibate and had imbibed the principles of devotion to Krishna from his mother and father, father and mother. Although he had lived at home, his upbringing had been the equivalent of brahmachari life. And by marriage at the age of 21, he had entered the Grahastha ashram at the appropriate age. Gaur Mohan's example had showed Abhay how to remain a devotee of Krishna even in family life. And as Vaishnavas, Abhay and his wife had avoided the excess of materialistic household life. At 50, a man is supposed to retire from his family activities, and this stage is called Vanaprastha. In the Vanaprastha ashram, both man and wife agree to abstain from further sexual contact. They may continue living together, but the emphasis is on spiritual partnership. As Vanaprasthas, they may travel together on pilgrimage to the holy places in India, preparing for their inevitable departure from the material world. Thus, the Vedic ashramas, after following one to fulfill material life, enable one to end the cycle of repeated birth and death and attain the eternal spiritual world. A man of 50 should be able to see by his aging body that inevitable death is approaching, and he should have the good sense to prepare. In the final division, the sannyasa ashrama, the man places his wife in the care of a grown son and fully dedicates himself to serving the Supreme Lord. Formerly, the sannyasa ashrama meant a solitary life of penances in the Himalayas, but in the Gaudiya Vaishnava line, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had emphasized preaching. Although Abhay had not formally defined his status within the four ashramas, he appeared to be living more as a vanaprastha than a grahastha. He saw his business failures and his distasteful family situation on Krishna's blessings, freeing him from family responsibilities and turning him wholeheartedly towards executing Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's order to preach. Hare Krishna. So we are continuing to see Srila Prabhupada's life as a Grahastha and how his business kept failing. And anytime he had challenges, he is always referring to the scriptures and also Bhagavatam and Srimad Bhagavad Gita. As you can see that with the failure also, he's thinking that Krishna really wants him. Krishna is making that arrangement because then he can focus more on spiritual services, So that's how Srila Prabhupada is looking at everything. That's so beautiful to see that. And then also he's saying about how he was getting more and more attracted towards the spiritual phase rather than the material side of things, and he was just writing more and more, and in spite of all of these challenges he was still getting more and more attracted towards Krishna. So that's what we see from today's reading.